Yes. Long awaited, dude.
Yeah. I mean, didn't know if I was going to make it on here. I thought I was going to get the boot.
Nah, you were definitely never going to get the boot, but it's going to be fun, dude. I'm happy that you're here. I think it's going to be a conversation that we haven't even had.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we hang out, we see each other, we have a good time. You know, it's kind of like almost get away from all the things that we're like obligated to do, and you know, we enjoy ourselves together. But like, I'm very interested in you and everything you've done. And for those that don't know, this is, you know, Coach Dave Cord, Northern Highlands, previously at Ridgewood. I want to get into the first thing I want to know from you, and this is the truth, right? It's like I played football with you, and then 15 years go by, 17 years go by, and it's like, then I didn't know your journey to being a coach. I had no idea that was like an ambition of yours. So what made you want to coach? What was your desire to coach?
Yeah, I think I figured it out. You know, I went to Rowan to teach. I don't know. I listen, you know me. You've known me for a long time. Not a very good athlete. I'm an average athlete at best.
You're good athlete.
But you know, I quickly found out in football that if you dedicated to yourself to it, you know, I think for me, really the love for football first started in the weight room. Skinny little kid, you know, as an 8th grader and a freshman. And, you know, we had Coach Gambardella, who was a legend himself. But, you know, you start lifting, you see results. I got bigger, I got stronger, I got faster. I still, again, like I'm not a great athlete, but I was able to find my way on and play for a really good program and a really good team that we had. And I think I did it more above the shoulders than anything I did below the shoulders, right? Like I figured out how to play football. I figured out a position that fit me best. I figured out our scheme, and I was able to play fast in that and you know, help the team and help the program. I certainly wasn't the best athlete on the field. Probably most of the time I was the 11th out of the 11 guys on there, but I was able to make plays and find my way out there. And I thought that was pretty cool. And
yeah,
you know, I went to teach. I went down to Rowan to get my education cert, but it was always an idea that, you know, I wanted to do it to coach.
Yeah. It's actually interesting. So when was that, like, when did you flip that switch? You know, because I've grown up with you. It's like I coasted through most of my life. So I just kind of go through the motions of pretty much everything. For like you, it makes sense though, you saying it, there was a point where you decided, I'm going to put forth extra effort, do more, get myself right mentally, get myself right physically. Like, what was that moment? Was that obviously in high school?
Yeah. It was in high school. I can't pinpoint.
You had to? You felt like you had to?
Yeah. I thought there was no way I would ever play.
Yeah.
If I didn't do that,
wow.
Right? And there's a lot of us, right?
Yeah.
You know, we go a long way back. But John Zahulis, you know, I remember running around the lake with him growing up, right? I would go to Anthony's house, you know, in the mornings when I started running track. I would go in the mornings and lift at his house. I would go to school, I'd run track, right? Like it wasn't just me. I was a part of something, but I knew early that if I didn't put in extra effort, there's no way I was playing.
Gonna play?
Yeah.
You actually. It's so true, because on the field, like you were smart. You played the game smart. You played the game you were in the right place at the right time, like all of the time. And you made a lot of plays because of it. And I do agree with you. I mean, growing up with you, you were smaller. There's no doubt about it. But you made an impact, like a big impact. And a lot of it is because, you know, your mind. I feel like you were smart. So to see you become a coach now makes sense looking back. Yeah, you know,
listen, I think this country and the world, right, is obsessed with football, because I don't think there's anything that pairs physical and mental like football.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you turn on the NFL. I mean, these guys are just absolute freaks. They're in the top 1% of their DNA. They're 6'5", they run 4.4 40s, but the special ones, the really special ones, even at that level, have a different mentality, right? And are really able to figure it out. And even some of the best players, you want to go to the NFL, some of the best players of all time aren't the most physically gifted. You know, Tom Brady comes to mind.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, and I think that's the coolest part about the sport. That's what sucked me into the sport was the mental aspect of it.
The strategy, the I agree with you. I think I never looked at sports like that. I looked at sports completely physical. I always looked at sports completely like talent and nothing more, you know. Looking back, like I wish that I did care more. but you did. It was very noticeable. And you went to college, and then you decided you like, when was it? What was your first coaching job?
So I went to college to get an education degree to teach and coach, and I can't believe my parents signed off on that because I'll never financially recover from that decision. But no, I'm just kidding. So yeah, my first job, I applied for, I got 2 certs, got a special ed cert and a phys ed cert. I applied for a special ed job at Kearny. Now, if you Google Kearny, Kearny is Soccer Town USA on Wikipedia.
It's all the way soccer.
They have, I think they're one of 3 programs in the state never to make the state playoffs.
Wow.
Never heard back, but when I was on the application, I clicked football. A couple months later, the football coach called me. I was laying pavers at the time. I didn't have a job. He hooked me up with a substitute teacher job teaching job in the school. Started coaching this summer, and last second, like I'm talking like August 25th, like we're leading up to Labor Day, and like they needed a phys ed teacher. I was in the right place, right time.
Wow.
And I started teaching there. Coached there for a couple years. Quickly learned that I needed to go elsewhere to really learn. I got hired by a great coach. He got let go after a couple years. I knew once I got tenure, I was gonna look elsewhere. Actually, after I got tenure, and I told Kearny, I was like, listen, I'm going to go looking for other coaching jobs. They offered me the head coaching job at Kearny, like 25, and I knew nothing at 25, but at least I was smart enough to know that I couldn't take that. I needed to learn a lot more. Put a couple applications out. Put an application out to Ridgewood, which it's funny, it's right up the block, but I knew nothing about Ridgewood. Big school, small school. We kind of never crossed paths in high school.
Yep.
Chuck Johnson hired me as basically an assistant linebacker coach. And before I know it, in a couple months, I got promoted to DC, and I was in a really, really good.
That was in your first year?
In my first year.
Wow.
So there, Mark Arenbrew was calling the defense there. His daughter was playing college hockey. Now, college hockey plays Friday and Saturday nights starting in October, or Friday nights and then Saturday afternoon starting in October. So he was leaving to go watch his daughter. So listen, right place, right time. There was definitely no better way to learn. So Chuck Johnson, 34 years head coach at Ridgewood, a legend, had never had a losing season. So I had him to learn from. And then Mark Arenbrew would basically Saturday to Thursday would game plan with me, go over everything, right? And then Friday night he would leave, and I would just get to call the game.
Wow.
And he's awesome. He was a 20-year head coach, 40 years of coaching experience.
Wow, that's a great situation.
He's still with me at Highland. So that's like, listen, you can't ask for a better situation. You're under a guy with that much experience at Chuck Johnson. It was really his defense. And then me and Mark were able to manipulate it. And then I was able to call it. It was like, coaching football with training wheels on.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It was, I got lucky. And I stayed at Ridgewood for the next 5 years as the DC, and me and Mark were kind of doing it as a tag team.
Yeah. Was Ridgewood as good as they were when you were there prior to you coming? Were they always a good program?
Yeah, listen, Ridgewood,
I don't remember much about Ridgewood football at all.
Ridgewood has not had a losing season since 1990.
Got you.
So,
you said that.
So really good. Listen, we had a great run. We had a great group of kids. Our 2016 team went undefeated. They were 12-0. We had, Zach Fiegel's, Jeff Fiegel's son was a great running back.
Yeah.
Drew Gransky. Listen, it all revolves around great kids and great talent. Yes, we had a really, really solid run. Won a sectional in 16, 18, and 19 there. But we had a great staff and then great kids to work with.
It's awesome. They, I remember watching at, there was a couple of kids that like stood out. I remember like a bunch of us. What was the one kid? Who's the little kid? Not little. He was a linebacker.
Oh,
who's the kid? We were like chanting for him in the crowd. We were like, love this kid. You 44 or something.
What you guys really loved was at MetLife watching the Union game was Ruben.
Patel. Yes, love that kid.
Yeah. He had jet sweep left and right.
He was electric. He was just like the kid had like a fire in him. So you're at Ridgewood for 5 years, and what I remember most about Ridgewood was not just you obviously being there for the amount of time, but I remember you taking your last year there when you took the interim job when Chuck.
Yeah, so in 2019, so I was there got there in 2015. In 2019, Chuck got really sick.
Yeah.
It was like week 4, end of September, and I took over. Now we had a great team that year as well. We were 5-0. It was scary for a while there. You know, Chuck went to the hospital, never came out until after the season was over. We took over. I remember we had a short week. We were playing Clifton on a Thursday night. Now Clifton was kind of incestuous with we would play them every regular season, every playoff game. And since I got there, I think we played them 6 times. Hadn't lost to them. This was their best team. We go out to Clifton. First quarter of the game, James Miller, 6 foot, 220 tight end, committed to Columbia, just graduated from Columbia. Saw him, looks great. Tears his ACL, right? And like, that's our intro. And you know,
it's just your first game
Thursday night, right? I think it was first quarter. It was definitely first half, right? And even before that, so I was calling the defense, but Chuck called special teams and offense. You know, and he made the practice plans. Like Chuck was, you know, kind of pulling the strings of everything here.
Yeah.
So I had to bring 2 freshman coaches up on Friday nights to call the offense. 2 guys that we worked together since we met in 2015. 2 great coaches. So if you ever been to Clifton's got a cool stadium, big concrete, way up high.
Yeah, driven by it.
Right. So we start the game and we're on offense, and the phones aren't working. So DeRisi can't call the game, who's up in the booth. So I call basically the first game. I basically call offense and defense.
Oh my God.
We had 0 first downs in the first half, right? So we're getting shut out. Our best
what an intro.
One of our best player gets hurt. We get our ass kicked. It's 13-0.
Yeah.
It might have been 20-0 by the end. It should have been 50-0. Absolute ass kicking. We were ranked in the state. Not that I care much about rankings. And like, all right, here we are.
Yeah.
Right. And now you got to regroup.
Yeah.
Thinking back, we had a crazy week. All right. Even first practice, I take over. I get a call during the day, and Anthony Vaccarella, our starting nose, he was running in gym, went to stop at the door and put his arm through the door and had stitches on his
through the
bicep.
glass?
So he couldn't play. Right.
Oh my God.
And like, it was just a nightmare. Kind of righted the ship. We had Patterson Kennedy the next week, and Patterson Kennedy had a really good year this year. They had a linebacker that was going to play at Rutgers, we played a great game. Played them at home, won 28-0, and we're like, all right, we're back. We got one more game. We got Hackensack before the playoffs. We're at Hackensack. Benji Wimbler is the coach. They're like 500, maybe a little bit above 500, and they got to win to get in the playoffs. Now we're solid. We're a 1 or 2 seed. And they kick our ass.
Wow.
And it was the best Hackensack game I've seen them play by far. I mean, they ran the ball between the tackles right down their throat, and they're always big and they're always physical. No turnovers, no big mistakes, and Benji called a really good game. We started creeping our safeties to get a couple more in the box to stop the run. They had 2 big passes over our head. One to his son Jordan Wimberly, who was a college ball player. And I'm like, shit, like.
Wow.
Sorry, I don't mean to curse.
No, you can curse. You can get
but like so I take over. I think we were like the number 5 public school team in the state when I took over, and we finished season 1 and 2. Right, and it's like it's a shit way to end the season.
That's tough.
You know, one of our best players is injured, and I'll give our guys a ton of credit. Like, nobody blinked. You know, I think we did a great job as a coaching staff of. I remember when I took over that first practice, I'm like, talking to the team, I'm like, everything's going to feel just like when Chuck was here. Well, I think looking back at it, like, you can't be somebody else. Now, listen, you can't change an offense or change a defense, but, you know, even our practice structure was pretty similar, but it's got to be our way.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And, you know, and our kids battled, you know, and we went into the playoffs. We drew Bayonne. We actually got the 1 seed in our section. We drew Bayonne, who was having a really good year. They drove down the field on the first drive at home and scored on us. We're down 7-0, and then we inserted our will. We won big, and then the next week things really flipped for us. So it was a sectional semi game against Westfield. Now Westfield, most people don't know about them here. We had just gone to not just playing your section of the state. Now you play anybody that's north, right? So they seed you anybody in the north. So Westfield's like in central Jersey. Very similar town to Ridgewood. Huge town, ton of resources. I think they had like a 50-game winning streak from like 2015 to 2017.
Wow.
Now, they didn't have it this year, but they're a really good, solid program, one that I've watched before. And, I'm like, so they're coming up here, and we're down 6-0 at half. We play a phenomenal second half. We win the game late. We drove the ball in the last 4 minutes.
Wow.
And actually hit a couple big passes. We had a great receiver that year, Tommy Bork, and went and played lacrosse up at Boston. Really good receiver.
Yeah.
So we were wing T, but I think one thing,
guys.
I think we opened it up and
Yeah.
we just gave him some chances.
Was opening it up? Did you have like a little bit of the freedom to be able to, I kind of want to like switch things up a little bit?
Well,
now that you saw it how you saw it and had to adjust and do what you felt was right.
And he was a special talent.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's a really, really good football player. Could have been a college football player if he wanted to. Obviously, he went the lacrosse route. And I thought that there was things that we could take some advantage of. A lot of it was similar stuff that we were doing.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? We tweaked it or added to it. It wasn't just me. The staff came up with that stuff. And we had a great quarterback, Tarleton, who took some chances. He was a good long ball quarterback, and it was a perfect combo for what we're doing, right? We'd pound the ball between the tackles, and we'd take these shots with Tommy, and he'd go up and get the ball against anybody. And we end up winning the game against Westfield, and that kind of opened things up. We have a sectional game against PCT, who was another team we saw twice a year. We lost in the finals to them, beat them in the finals before, and win a really tight game.
That was great.
Yeah, we go up early. This is at home, so this is the first time the sectional games were at home.
Yeah.
Go up early, and we kind of hung on.
Yeah.
They had it was tight down the stretch, and then we draw a Union for what was the regional.
Yeah,
they didn't have a true group champion at that point, and Union was awesome.
Yeah,
their
program's good. Well, it's so funny. Like that was the first time we talked about Jimmy before you came on, because I graduated. I went to school with Jimmy and was his roommate, and so he's gonna as well come on the podcast. And that was the first time I had seen Jimmy in forever. And it was like a lot of, I told him like, you guys are in for it, bro. My buddy Dave is, the guy, we're hyping him up, like talking a little shit. But it was cool because Union's program has been, they always had guys. They always were talented.
Listen, that
big school.
That team
they were loaded.
Was unbelievable.
Yeah,
and
their talent was crazy.
They had a ton of talent and skill. And then a quarterback that could really distribute the ball. And we went into that game like, I'm not sure if we could stop him, and then I was sure that we couldn't stop him once the game got going. And our boys again kind of backs against the wall. We were down 13 at half.
Yeah. That was a fun game.
Yeah, we had down 13 at half. And I remember talking to the staff before we went to the locker room, and then talking to the kids when we were in the locker room, like let's just go. Let's just let it loose. We had a 4th and 9 on that first drive, so we got the ball coming out at half. 4th and 9. Threw the ball up to Tommy. Tommy makes a play. Next play, we go in, we score. We're down 6, right? And then Wimbush was the quarterback at Union. They run a little zone read, and they fumble the exchange, and Messinio jumps on the ball, and all of a sudden we're in business. We're down 6 with the ball on the 40 going in. We punch it in, we go up, and then it's just back and forth for the rest of the game.
That game was so crazy.
And we ended up winning it at the end. We had a little running back. Ruben was running left.
Ruben, dude, that's my guy.
That's my guy. It was pretty cool. But again, kids were 1 and 2 with a new coach, and and not that I was new, but like, listen, Chuck was a huge figure in these guys' lives.
Of course,
the kids in Ridgewood would go to his camp at 6 years old, and then know at 18 they would run 121. Run 21 buck sweep. Yeah, and we're gonna run that in 12 years for Chuck Johnson and go win a state championship. Yeah. Right, and like, and that's gone in a day, right? And then you stumble bad, right? And we have 2 losses, and they just kept on working. They just kept on working, which is pretty special, right? And it certainly helped, certain credit to them, and I still see those guys every once in a while and get some text, which is probably kind of the coolest part of this whole coaching thing.
That's got to be the best part.
Yeah.
Awesome. And like the kids watching them come up, and then because you instill, like, one thing I've learned about life And you've always done a good job of this. And I don't know the coaching world. Like, I'm not in the coaching world to know it. I have a lot of friends that coach and whatnot, but like, I'm not engulfed in it. But being somebody who does care about like the kids and the community and like trying to give back and motivate people and like vicariously, however it is that I have to give them insight, you do a really good job, and it's noticeable that you put the kids first. Like I see that just by like, I watch you on the sidelines. I can just tell, like, you have an energy about you. And this is like credit to you. Like, you have an energy about you that you could tell you care, you're passionate, it's real. I've heard you talk about it behind closed doors. You give a shit.
Well, listen, I think if you want to do this game the right way, it's difficult. You ask a lot for these kids, right? Like, for their entire summer, right? We were just talking about it when we walked in, right? My kids come in, we blow the whistle at 7 a.m., practice starts. We practice from 7 to 9. We watch the film from practice from 9 to 10, and they lift from 10 to 11, right? 4 days a week, all summer. And then August comes, and now they're here 6 days a week once it like officially starts. It's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And some of these kids do that and don't really get to play on Friday nights, right? And as a teacher and as a coach, and I've told people before about this, right? Like, kids are a lot smarter than we give credit for. Now, they make dumb mistakes, but they're smart, right? And they
see through bullshit. They smell bullshit.
Yes. Yeah. They know who are phonies and who aren't.
Correct.
Right. And like, I walk it around, I've been in a couple different school districts. I worked in Kearny, I worked in Ridgewood, I worked in Tenafly, I'm at Highlands, right? Like, in the teaching world, right, I see teachers who have classroom management or trouble controlling kids, right, are the same teachers every year. So it's not just the kids. It's because I think kids see through.
They see through, try to take advantage when they can.
Take advantage, or if you're, I think the same is true in the coaching world, right? Like, listen, if you actually put in the time, right? Like, the one thing this is not me, this is my coaching staff, right? You come to my practice tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., our kids are moving, and every single second of that practice is meaningful. And if it wasn't, they wouldn't give effort. But they're all giving max effort because I think they understand that what we're doing is planned out, right? And actually has meaning to them and can help them win football games this fall, right? Like, and if we didn't, and if we showed up and at 7:05 as they're stretching, we're trying to come up with a game plan or a practice plan on what we're doing,
100%.
they would, listen, they see through that, right? And like it or not, you want to adapt to it or not, right? Kids live in a now world. They don't want to do, like, I think when we were playing football, right, at least my mindset, I would have respected any coach that walked in front of me. Yeah. Right? I think that's what my parents
They were the authority.
Yeah, they're the authority.
Yep. I can't agree more. Yeah. I don't think I viewed anybody different.
Yeah. I don't think that's the same now, right? Yeah. I'm not, listen, I have the greatest kids in the world at Highlands. I really do, right? But I think they demand a certain amount of expertise, care, and
for sure.
Yeah, and
they're loaded with knowledge too. You have phones and social media and things, and they see things. It gets embedded in their mind. What they think they know they want, what they know they want, what they don't know it's hard to navigate for a young kid.
And they are pulled in a million different directions.
Yeah.
Right? Like when we played high school football, I worked a little bit and I went to high school football.
It was so simple,
right? They go to work. They go to lacrosse practice. They go to baseball training. They come to football practice. They go to SAT tutoring. Right? They're pulled in a million different directions. Their time is important.
Yeah.
Right. So I try to make their time meaningful.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we do that as a football program. If you come into our class, my class, that's what we try to do. I try to make that 58 minutes we're together meaningful. Yeah. Right? And I think kids respond to that.
So your care, what is the one thing that keeps them tight? Because like obviously your care and them feeling you give a shit what matters, right? Because I think that they know that it's trending in the right direction. Whether you win, lose, all that stuff, it's like obviously the winning helps. Everybody knows winning helps. Winning helps tremendously. But they want to look at a coach or somebody who's older than them or anybody who's like a mentor of sorts and feel like that's a human. That's somebody who takes the time to listen to me. It's not just this is the way it is and yada yada yada. So like, what is the one thing that if you could pluck that you've recognized that you do, or that you put energy into that makes these kids give you that kind of respect and show up every day?
No, I mean, I think there's no secret to it, but it's time, right? Spend 12 months with these guys, right? We work out 4 days a week in the off season, work out 4 days a week in the summer. We're together 6 days a week in the fall, right? It's simply time, right? And you got to prove that to them over and over again that you care, right? And then you actually got to do care, right? Like when somebody calls you and has an issue, you got to help, right? I do individual meetings. So once the season ends, everybody in the program comes in, everybody eats lunch with me one time, right? We talk about grades, right? We talk about, what their expectations are in the future, what my expectations for them moving forward, how they can get better, and you got to stay on top of that.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just, it can't be a one-time thing. So I can't pluck, one thing that we do, right? But I think it's being consistent, right? Being disciplined with Tatum and just spending time with these guys.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the biggest thing. It's like any relationship, right?
Yeah.
Like the longer it goes, the more time you spend, the more trust you build. And the further it goes.
Let me do the kids, because I remember growing up and being like, sports was everything. It was like the only thing I used to think about. It was like sports, school, girls. That's it.
Yeah.
You have a good time or whatever. Do these kids know? And I'm curious because I'm so far removed from it. Like, do these kids, if football is their life right now, like their everything, how deep do the conversations go where you're planning for their future as well? Is there any, like, if they have ambition, like, I'm going to go be a Division I or Division II guy or whatever, like, how do you ever have those conversations with them to be like, well, what are you looking to major in, and guide them in life on top of guiding them on the, between the sidelines?
Try to every day.
Yeah.
I mean, the cool thing about football, and it's a lot of work, right, is it's the last place that gets recruited at high school, right? You want to go play soccer? You go to play soccer for a club team, and you fly out to Texas, and there's 500 teams there, and college coaches can go and sit at a couple different fields and pick out their kids.
Yeah.
There is none of that in football, right? Like, so if kids want to play football in college, right, coaches come through our high school.
Yeah.
Right. So, I have those conversations every day, and we're lucky to have some real success. Matt Boydell, who played on our team last year, he's going to play football up at Dartmouth. Chase Clarko, our safety running back this year, just committed to Cornell. And listen, it goes way beyond just Division I, right?
Yeah,
Those are
of
some of the Division I guys, but we got two players at Fordham, another high academic Division I. I've always tried to use football as a tool to get you into the best institution possible, right? They always say, you go spend 4 years for your next 40, right? Like, college can set you up, and certainly we on the East Coast here, we have some really, really good colleges, right? They can set you for your future, right? I think it's really cool when our football guys can go play football at a school that they couldn't get in without it. And I'm not saying they're not smart. Matt Boydell is as disciplined and smart as a kid I've ever seen, right? And but he doesn't get into Dartmouth without his ability to play football. Correct. And I think for me, that's a home run.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a home run. It takes a ton of work. I said his name, so I'll talk a little bit about his story. He played corner for us in 22 when we lost the championship at down at Rutgers. He was a sophomore. Sophomores are hard to play at our level. Yeah. I remember talking to his parents, talking to him when the season was over. And I looked at his transcript, and he had A's and B's, but no real honors classes, or And I said, "What's the goal? Like, is the goal the highest football possible or the highest academic?" And he's like, "Oh, the highest academic." I'm like, "All right, well, we got to make some changes here, right?" And like, school to some guys comes easy, right? School to other guys, they really got to work at it, right? Like, like our kid going to Cornell next year. Like, listen, he works, right? But he's
book smart.
Yeah. Some other guys got to really. Matt put his nose to the books and grinded, and took some really difficult AP classes and got himself into Dartmouth. Wow. Right? Had an ability to play at Columbia.
That's kudos to him.
Had ability
you have to
play
want
at Navy.
to do that.
Yeah.
You have to want to do that.
It's a lot of discipline.
Yeah. It's a lot. It is discipline.
Yeah, listen,
you don't do it without it.
That's also a kid who started on the varsity basketball team and lifted 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Right?
So he already had it in him.
He had that work ethic. Work ethic is not an issue for him.
Yeah.
And it's not for a lot of our guys. I thought the one thing I did, so after I left Ridgewood and I was looking for a program, and Chuck came back, is I was looking for a bigger school. Obviously, I went to school at Westwood, so it was a smaller school, but I think the one thing that's unique about the bigger public schools is your numbers create some real competition, right? I mean, we got 65 kids on our sophomore through senior roster, right? So you're 6 deep at every position. It's hard to play.
Yep.
It's really hard to play on Friday nights, right? And like, so kids see that, right? And they work harder and they're competing. It's been really cool to see. And it was first when I got to Ridgewood that I saw that difference. So you go from Kearny that had 30 kids freshman through senior in their program, and you go to Ridgewood and they got 65 in their varsity program. It's a huge difference. And they got to work for it, and these kids understand it.
Yeah. Well, even seeing like Pete, I remember Pete when he came along with you too, and he was over at Tenafly, like the difference between Tenafly and Highlands and how vast it is. Like it's smaller, right? Tenafly is a relatively small
it's a group
school.
there, but smaller football for sure. Yeah.
So let me ask you, because when you left Ridgewood and you're looking for schools, were there any other schools that were looking at you or you were having conversations with?
Yeah, I interviewed at a couple different places. I didn't get anything. Yeah. Listen, I was almost done.
With coaching?
Yes. I wouldn't say I was done with coaching.
It had to be the right.
But I was done. I didn't know if I was going to be a head coach, right?
And that was
always my goal growing up. So stayed at Ridgewood for 2019, stayed at Ridgewood in 2020, but that was a really short COVID year, no preseason, kind of sucked. And then I applied to a bunch of different head coaching jobs and that I thought I was qualified for. Didn't get them, and that's fine. You can go any different direction. And then Pete called me about a phys ed opening and coming on his staff at Tenafly, and I talked with their athletic director, who's awesome, and it's like, it may be a little bit different football, and I said, all right, it was a better move for my family, it was more money, and I had just moved back into Bergen County, and I was like, all right, maybe I'll just go be an administrator, go be a principal or a vice principal, and I'll go down that route, get into Tenafly, great district, much better than Kearny, and start going down that route, and it was our old head football coach who called me and was the one who convinced me to Highlands. I'd been turned down at a couple of jobs and I was kind of down about it. And I was like, I'm not going to apply to head jobs anymore. And Billy Schraub called me up and he's like, listen, the athletic director and the principal was Joe Ochino, right? And it was his high school baseball coach at Fort Lee. It's like, these guys you want to go work for, apply. Yeah. I applied at like 11:50 p.m. and it was due at like midnight on a Sunday night, and I'm glad I did.
Wow, that's crazy, Billy Straub.
Yep. I still talk to Billy. Billy came down for a 7-on-7.
Did he?
Yeah, I told you I don't 7-on-7 a lot. Billy. I love.
I remember the last time I saw him, I was when I was living in Fort Lee, and he was on the other side of the fence because the back of the high school. The Fort Lee High School.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And he was like, what the hell? I was like running, I was like on a run, and he was like, what the hell are you doing here? I live right here. I love it. He's such a good guy.
Awesome.
He's such
awesome.
a good
We still
guy.
talk a couple times a week.
Yeah.
Right? He's back head coach. He took over New Milford, had a great year last year. Had their first playoff win in a while.
He's just a good man, dude. Yes. He cares. He was just good. What a difference it was from Gambardella to him too. And I love Gambardella too.
Yeah.
I talk about Gambardella all the time, dude. Like I think Gambardella is such a, different. You had to have experienced it, but he came to Westwood at the right time, with the right guys.
But listen, he did it. He did it uniquely, right? That's a nice way to put it. But he cared about the kids.
He cared a lot about the kids.
And listen, he showed it in odd ways, but you knew that.
He was militant. He was just the way he did everything he did. He had no filter.
Yeah, no filter.
Zero filter.
I'm not sure the zero filter was militant, but
he was pretty militant though, like in his approach, right?
In his approach, he's brash. He's big.
Maybe he just looks militant.
But he was funny as hell at times.
Dude,
so funny.
He was the best. It's funny looking back and seeing the difference because he wouldn't fly. What we experienced then, I don't see nowadays working out.
It would be tough.
It'd be difficult, but I love Gambardella. All right, so you're now at Highlands. Your first year at Highlands, because I know you won in 21, 22.
So 2020, I was at Ridgewood. 21, I did a year at Tenafly. I was DC under Pete. And then 22, I took over.
22.
And in 21, Highlands went 12-1 and lost in the state championship.
That's right.
Phenomenal team. Greg Russo's last team. I mean, they were awesome. Their quarterback went down and played at Monmouth. They had guys. Their free safety receiver went over to Lafayette. Now I had a lot of good guys coming back from that team, and Sarah and Kostaka and Madison. We had a good group coming back, right? And they just went 12-1, take over, and we went 1-2 again. Right? Wow. We started the season 1-2. We won down at Rutgers at a. what do they call it? Rumble at the Raritan, right? Beat a Winslow team that's now playing IMG. They've blown up, become a national team. And then we lost the following week. We got our asses kicked by Old Japan and Brian Dunn, who's one of the best coaches and best programs around. We lose 28-0. I mean 28-7. I think we scored one at the end. They could have made it 50. And then we're going to play Ridgewood, right? And so we're 1-1. We're at Ridgewood, and our kicker was hurt, couldn't come to the game. And I remember we always have a small coaches meeting before we lunch right after school, and then we kind of have coaches meeting, then we have a kids meeting, and then we go play. And I was like, listen, the young kid, sophomore, never kicked before. I'm like, listen, if the game comes down to him, we're going for 2. And here we are, right? We
of course
defensive battle goes back and forth. We score one late to make it 7-6. And I made that decision at 3:00, and we go for 2. Nate Johnson, who was a great quarterback, started for 3 years for us, rolls out. And I think he can throw it or run it. He chooses to run, which I think is the smart decision, and puts his foot in the ground and slips and kind of gathers himself and gets tackled at like the 1 inch. And we lose 7-6, and we're 1-2. But again, credit to our kids, listen, they just went 12-1.
Yeah.
They just doubled their loss total at the new staff, all new staff. Basically 1 or 2 guys carried over, new systems, everything. And they didn't blink. I thought at Old Japan games, after the Old Japan game, things were coming apart and people were really nervous. And then the Ridgewood game kind of all right, we can do this. Yeah. And then we went on a great run.
Was that an unpredictable year? Like you didn't know what to expect based on kids leaving and
yeah. I mean, listen, it's a new school. It's really my first true job. I was in an interim, and we had I was able to build a really good staff. So Mark Arenbrew, who I talked about before, came over. His first hire, in 1991 at Paramus High School as a head coach was a guy named Angelo DeSalvo. Angelo went on to be the New Milford head coach, the Riverdale head coach, and then Passaic Valley where he got his start, right? So he's a 15-year head coach veteran. He comes over, runs my offense, super knowledgeable now. So I went from the wing T to the spread, right? And that's like...
So Highlands was all wing T prior to you coming?
No.
Oh, you're saying you were
Ridgewood
got you
prior. Yep. So that's it's like changing languages, right?
Yeah.
And thankfully I got somebody that was super competent and Angelo jokes all the time. He goes, I got no other hobbies but football. I don't play golf. He goes, I just do football.
It's nice for you.
Yeah, he is all in. His son comes on staff who's a young teacher, coaches a receiver. It's really cool to see their combo. And we're able to turn things around. And the one thing with Angelo, which is way different from where I come, Chuck Johnson is a structured coach. We run what we run, and that's what we do. And there's a lot of beauty to that, right? Because kids know exactly, And then Angelo's the opposite, right? Angelo's well, we got a really good back, and we got 3 good tight ends. I'm going to put 3 tight ends on it. And it was just really cool. And I never worked, so just cool to see him adapt to what we had and turn things around. And I've learned a ton from Angelo, just the way he structures practice, and it's been a really good fit. And listen, all of these stuff, you look at any successful program, their staff is special, right?
It's important.
Just look at Nick Saban's coaching tree, right?
Oh my God!
Half the head coaches in big time college football are from that.
It's just crazy.
Listen, you have to surround yourself with good people. You can't do this job alone.
You do, and you have to hope you're right, because sometimes you have an intuition or a gut feeling, and sometimes things don't work out.
Yeah,
so you when things work out, it's a nice feeling.
It's good.
It's a nice feeling. So when you look at you go 1 and 2. You have Ridgewood, you did it. Northern Highlands, you do it. When you go 1 and 2, what is it like going into the locker room the next day? How is it dealing with the kids?
Yeah, listen, they're disappointed, right?
I remember. I'm just curious.
You work 12 months, right?
Yeah.
We have 8 regular season games. We get 8 games guaranteed.
Yeah.
Or 12 months. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Think about what a year is to a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
1/16th of their life.
Remember how long it felt like when you get into a freshman year? It's 4 years to a senior year. And now I'm looking back, it's been 18 years since high school. It's a long time. It's a long time. Every school year is long.
And so at the end of 22, and I remember talking to this. So the end of 22, we end up having a really great playoff run. We win 4 playoff games, and we lose in the finals, right? And we lost 18-14. We had the ball on the 12-yard line with a chance to win, and we didn't get it done on 4th down. Lost to a Millville team that was super talented.
They were good, yeah.
And I remember one of the reporters from NJ.com came up to me, which they never usually come to a losing team, right? I guess because it was the championship game, it was a little different. And he's like, "Oh, your boys look really upset." And I'm like, "They should be."
Yeah.
Right? Like you just poured your heart into this thing.
It's a weird thing actually to say.
No. He was being nice.
Yeah,
like,
I know. But,
no. Listen, I think he meant it in the right way. But like, so you're talking about what is it like in the locker room after a loss? Kids are upset.
Yeah.
They should be.
Yeah.
Listen, if you walk into a locker room and you lose and your kids aren't upset, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
Then nobody cares. I'm not saying it's gotta mean something.
It's gotta mean something.
And then I think that's how you really get things going.
Yeah.
When it means something to them and they're really important, you get it going.
Yeah, I'm curious because I don't, we didn't really ever play on teams that weren't winning, like growing up. You know what I mean? So when all you know is winning, like I remember being disappointed after a loss, but you're 1-2, you have high expectations. Like sometimes it starts slipping away from you a little bit, and it's hard to reel them back in because and what are we even playing for anymore, right?
Yeah.
So like you wake up the next day and you got to motivate the kids or motivate yourself if you're a player to, lock in and get ready for the next week. What is that dynamic like?
They're motivated.
They're locked in.
Right?
Yeah.
They are and they're smart.
And they want to play.
We talked about this, right? Like we were 1-2 and lost in a state champion. They know that it's not over. Like listen, I have thankfully, and I haven't coached since my Kearny days in 2014 in like a situation where you're not in the playoffs or not in a playoff hunt. So I don't know what that is. But I remember talking to the guys like, listen, like after losses, there's not much to say, right? But the only thing I know how to do is go back to work.
Yeah.
Right. So
keep your head up.
Yeah. Like listen, I'm going to go tomorrow. I'm going to come back here tomorrow and we're going to watch a film together.
Yeah.
And you guys are going to try to get better and I'm going to try to get better. Right. Because, I remember, listen, we lost in 23. We were up 21-0 on Rampo, who's our rivals, and we lose the game 32-33, right? And like that's down. Like rivalry, it means a lot to those kids. The game's awesome, really cool game.
You want to go? One of the best high school games I've ever been to was when the lights
went off.
Oh,
that was
dude.
22. That was 22.
That game, wow, that was one of the greatest high school football games I've ever been a part of. Watched anything.
Yep,
it's unbelievable.
That was a special.
The energy in the room, the energy in the environment was insane. Let alone the dramatics of the lights and what a chaotic situation.
What a long night. There.
Yeah, we were ready to go home. But like, oh my god! But that was an amazing game. Keep going though. I felt the energy.
This was the next year, right? And we can talk about the lights out game.
Yeah.
So so kids are down. I'm down. Like I mean, that's to lose a game like that. Not that team was awesome, right? So like there's. Rampo ends up going to the finals that year. But I went in, I remember the kids, and I wrote 5 play calls on the board. So when the kids came in, I said, any of these 5 changes, I make any of those 5 changes, I think we win the game. What do you think you could do, right? If you watch this film, what is a change you could have made to win the game? Because we're all in this together, right?
Wow,
and listen, and that's
dude, that's dope. That's an amazing approach.
But you got to have that mindset, right? Like it's a long season. Right. Well, you got to get better each week. Right. And that's the one thing I hope if somebody watched a Northern Highlands film, right, that when you watch me on August 28th in week 1, right, and you watch me on November 28th and hopefully week 14, if we get that far, 15, if we get that far, that we got better as the year went on. Like you have to have that mindset. It's like anything.
Yeah.
Right? You got to get better.
But you going, I think that is. And not say I don't know if anybody's ever done that. I'm sure they have. Sure, but like that's extreme, of course. But that is a relatable approach. That's a good thing for a kid to see. You walking in and saying, "These are the 5 things that I would have done different. What could you have done?" That makes it easier that makes it more palatable for them. That makes it easier.
But it's true.
It's of course it's true.
It's true. Like I ain't perfect.
No.
Like
no.
Every Friday night you're gonna come watch a game with me. I'm gonna screw up a bunch of calls.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm not gonna put our kids in the. And listen, that's why. And this is true for all coaches. It's not me. Right. But why do we get obsessed with football? And why don't we sleep very much in the fall? And why do we put it's to put our kids in the best position, the best chance to be successful.
Yeah.
Right. And that's all I think about. Right. Is what scheme, what front, what coverage against this formation puts us in the best chance to be successful, right? That's what we're all thinking about, you know. And my offensive coaches are doing the same on the offensive side of the ball, and Pete's doing the same thing on special teams, right? And like that's what we're trying to do. We don't want to let each other down. You work a lot of time, right? And you get
relying on each other.
You get a couple few chances.
Yeah,
you know?
It's true. It's very true. That's crazy. It's so cool watching you guys take it there. It's so, from my perspective, like I remember when you won at Ridgewood, it was the first time for me, it hit me like, oh, my friends that I grew up with, you're like legitimately coaching. Like, you know, it was like, for me personally, watching it from the sidelines, it was like the first time I sat and I was like, yo, Dave, like I'm fucking proud. Like, I'm proud of you, bro. Like that to me, it was a big moment, and watching you do it and watching you, it was very obvious. I think I just, like, from my perspective, like glossed over a lot of what was happening because everybody's doing their own thing and whatever.
Of course they were.
Yeah, but it was like a really cool thing to watch you turn a really, you know, unpredictable situation into something amazing for yourself, be appreciated for it. And, you know, from my perspective, it was like, wow, how the hell are you not going to get a head coaching job after doing what you did at Ridgewood, right? And I remember that little bit of a limbo where, you know, you have an ambition, you want to be a head coach somewhere. It's just really cool to watch you come into your own. And now when I talk to you about sports, which we don't really, you know, that often, but when I do talk to you about sports and I'm listening to you, and sometimes I come, you know, I'm over at the house and you're like on your computer and you're doing all, it's like a really interesting, it's really interesting to see how much time and energy goes into it. Things that I never really looked into because I only looked at it as an athlete. I only looked at it as a, you know, whatever. So it's been pretty amazing watching you now with Pete. You know, now you got Jimenez, who I grew up with. Like watching all you guys do your thing is pretty amazing. What's like, you know, what is this season? You know, where are you guys at now? What is the expectations? I mean, obviously expectations are always to win, but like what are you doing right now? Like, where are you at in regards to the off season and preparation for the season?
Yeah, you're allowed to start up on June 16th. So we go, you know, I think I said this to you before we start. So we're allowed to go start practice, right? We basically go 4 days a week. I love, you know, selfishly, I love summer. You get to be a full-time football coach, right? And I tell the kids, you get to be a full-time football player, right? Like you get to wake up. So we practice from 7 to 9. We watch the film. We drone everything. Coach, you talked about Jim. Jim is the best. He's coaching running backs. He's droning. He's droning practice. Right. He's like showing the backs after the play. So we watch the film and meet and install whatever we got to do from 9 to 10, and then we lift from 10 to 11. We do that Monday through Thursday. Right. And like I tell the kids, that's you get to be a full-time football player. You get to wake up, you get to take care of your bodies, you get to eat, you get to work out, you get to take ice baths. Like you don't have to worry about studying, school, right? We get to be full-time football coaches.
It's true. It's a great time. Yeah. It's a very good time.
It's cool. And listen, we put a lot of time into it. So we're doing that. And I love, again, I touched on it in the beginning, right? Like I do love the mental part of it. You get to install, right? You get to install your defense. You get to install your offense. You get to install your special teams. You're setting the foundation for everything else you're going to do, right? And like, it's cool because, you know, you always you're running very similar stuff, but each year you get a little bit better. You say
new
things,
personnel too, and
your verbiage changes. You tweak things to the guys that you have. You get a little bit better at teaching your stuff, teaching your drills, and you know, you get to look back at last season. I spent a lot of time in December and January looking back at last season and put all our playlists. Like I group everything by play. Like we saw 44 counters last year, right?
Wow.
We averaged 4.3 yards per play, right? And we saw 64 drop back passes, and we saw 12 3-step drops, and we saw, you know, listen, I don't
what's tracking that?
You tag it. And then I'm able, you know, on Huddle, which is a software, you're able to make playlists, right? And like I teach it, you get to teach it that way.
Yeah.
But you also you learn what you're not good at. Like, holy shit, we kind of suck at rollout. Like, how do we get better? All right,
things you might not even recognize while it's all happening.
Listen, you're too into it. You're too close to it when it's happening. You know, and then you can step back and kind of reflect on it, right? And then you tweak what you work on all summer, all off season, right? It's no different than anybody's.
How much do the analytics and data, like obviously, you know, it could be skewed or, you know, kind of like, it doesn't always have to be, you know, we ran 44 counters and they all worked and whatever. Like sometimes you know, things happen, they happen. What have you noticed about analytics and data that is it wildly accurate? Like, do you shape your... how much of a role does it play in preparation versus I see talent and
it doesn't. It plays plays a role in the way you practice, right? So I got a coach, Dan Morris, who is brilliant and awesome and way beyond organized. Like, he sends me spreadsheets on Sunday night that, like, I can't even digest.
yeah.
Right. But I do let it set my practice scripts. Right. So, for example, if we're seeing a team that is, let's take it at its most basic, like 60% run, 40% pass. Well, then all my scripts when we're practicing are going to be 60 pass, 40 run.
Yeah.
Right. And, like, I'll verbalize that stuff to the kids as we're going through it. Right. And then, like, really, we're like you talk defense. All right. Out of this formation, there's 72 pass and 28 run. Like, oh shit, that's a pretty good tell.
Yep.
Right. And again, all right, in this formation and Sting right. Like, they're 72, like, you verbalize it as they're going. Now, you got to cover everything, right? Like, there's no shortcuts. Of course,
because you never know.
There's no shortcuts in football.
Of course.
And listen, you start guessing on things, you lose really quickly, right? But you can, listen, if that gives somebody a half a second faster or something, right? Like, then we do. So you still, everything you do, special teams, offensively, defensively, has to be sound, right? And has to be part of your system and make sense. But you do let data, tweak some things and change your mindset a little bit on certain things.
It's again like something so outside of my thinking. Everything to me is like instinctual. That's how but I obviously know. I know coaching and how important it is. When you're in the middle of a game, how often, and I know everything's like you adjust on the fly, but like, how often do you go completely off the script because things aren't working?
Not often.
Not often.
Not often.
You stay on script.
So, listen, high school football has changed. I see everything in live.
Let me ask this. What's the biggest difference between now and what it was? And we'll go back to, I'm curious about that.
Obviously, technology has changed.
Sure.
I mean, listen, we're watching live replays.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
on the sidelines watching.
Yes.
It's fucking nuts.
Like, so if a team huddles, right? If I'm calling defense and an offensive team huddles, I usually see the replay of our game before.
What a
it's
game changer that is.
How great is it for our kids to see that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's huge.
I'll take that a step further. Like, we go in halftime, and quite often we're watching film. Like, we'll run it. Like, I'll run in there and I'll rifle through as much of the first half with our kids as I possibly can. Like, and listen, I'm just like, so you say how often you go off script? The answer is almost never, right? Like, you can't go away from what you do and what you practice, right? But, like, there's certainly, again, if your systems are sound, right, then somebody's making a mistake, right? So you can certainly get some better calls to put yourselves in better situations. So, like, I go in there and I'm like, all right, can I get through 15 clips right now? And can I fix them like it's Saturday morning, like we're watching film together?
Wow.
Right? And, like, you're getting live feedback of what you're playing.
Wow,
right?
Dude,
like,
that's nuts.
Listen, will we draw up a little bit, a tweak to a pass route? Of course. Like, we'll do that, right?
Yeah.
But, like, we're not throwing stuff out.
But that's so huge for the kids to be able to, like, physically see or actually see themselves doing something right or wrong, right? To be able to adjust based on, because it could be a step.
Yep.
It could be one step changes everything.
Or your eyes are in the wrong place.
Correct.
Your alignments.
But it's good for them to see it because, imagine how tough it could be if you're telling the kids, like, you did this, and then their mind, they maybe don't.
Sometimes you got to see it.
Sometimes you have to see it.
Yeah. How often you videotape yourself with a golf swing, right? And then watch it. And then, like, oh, that makes sense. But the kids get obsessed with it, right? Like, so we film everything in practice, right? And, like, if Jimenez puts it up and just shares it with the coaches because he forgot to share it with the kids, like, I'll get texts. Like, Coach, can you put up the film? Like, after practice, they want to see it.
Yeah.
Right?
It's good for them to want to see it.
Of course.
It's actually really good. A lot of times I'm sure they just want to, they want to watch themselves do their thing.
They're making highlights after the game. That's
of course.
Damn sure.
I would have been if I had the access and the ability. I'll tell you that.
In season. So we practice on a Monday.
Yeah.
Right? I go home, get home, put my kids to sleep. I go back on the computer, and then I notate all of practice film.
Wow.
I'll mess with the kids a little bit on it.
Yeah.
But like kids know, Johnny got ripped last night. Like, you're
that's
trying.
That's fun though.
But you're trying to fix mistakes. And listen, any little edge, that takes me 20 minutes to do a night. If that's a little edge, right? But I also want kids to get in the habit of seeing themselves and seeing what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a difference between watching a football game and watching film.
Yeah.
Right? There's very different, right? Like, and and you got to watch your key and your steps. And you got to know your technique well enough and your job well enough and your responsibility well enough to actually be able to see some of that.
Yeah,
right.
no,
So that's
important.
what we're
It's
trying
very
to do
important.
in the summer is spending time on film with guys so they understand all this and how to watch it and how to do it.
So it's ingrained and like embedded in their mind. Yeah, how to do. Do you ever use like high end collegiate or NFL guys as an example? Like, look at how this person does anything.
I don't.
Do coaches do that?
I'm sure coaches do. Like,
it's hard to be relatable in that sense, but like I'm curious if
so. Never as like a teaching tool. The one thing I do, and Angelo, who I talked about my OC before, right? Like he'll always pick. So he'll like either buy or get access to the all 22 film. So part of the problem with like the NFL is you can't. That's not the film we watch.
All 22 is
all 22 is when a film has all 22 guys on it.
Gotcha.
Right? So I don't watch film like you watch it on TV, right? Like you got to see all the guys, right? Preferably at a really high angle so you can see where the guys. So like Angelo will do a ton of that in the off season, and like. All right, so he'll look at offenses that are similar to ours and some cool things they're doing. College is great for that. Listen, they just simply put, college coaches have more time to scheme up things, right? So like he spends a lot of time. All right, like and not schools like you would think, like not Ohio State, like. Probably our biggest influence is Incarnate Word, and you've never heard of Incarnate Word.
I have no idea who
it's
Incarnate
an
Word
FCS school that lost I think they lost in like the college football semifinal or championship. A couple years ago, their head coach went to Texas State.
Okay,
that's an FBS school, right? Like they just do cool shit on offense, and their offense is really similar. So I think doing that, but never like look at Luke Kuechly play linebacker. Like I don't think that's
you can't really.
I don't think that's relatable to what we do. And listen, once the season starts, man, like I barely watch football. Like until our football's over,
done. You don't. That's a fact. You're very locked in.
It's just tough, right? Like listen, it's a lot of hours.
Yeah.
And then like, all right, so Sunday, so what we've done for the past couple of years, right? We're actually going to switch up our schedule a little bit, but so. Monday through Fridays, Monday through Thursdays, your practice. Friday night, you play. So I don't see my kids on Friday, right? Saturday morning, you wake up. Coaches come in at 8. We go from 8 to 9:30 with coaches. Kids come in at 9:30. I go about 9:30 to 12 with the kids. They run, they lift, they watch the film. They go home, right? And then, I come home for a couple hours, and then I start for the next week, right? And then coaches come in Sunday morning at 8 a.m. We game plan to 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. What am I going to go home and sit on my couch and watch the Jets? Like I haven't seen my kids. My wife's working. Like,
true.
Listen, you want to do this right. You got to have a supportive family, right? And like, luckily, my wife grew up on a football field. And
it helps.
My father-in-law was all in on football, and she loves it and comes to the game. But it's a lot of time away from him. So like I can't just go sit on the couch, right?
Yeah, no, I know.
Plus, like I'm burned out, like I'm done. Like,
it's like really what you might fall asleep.
For a walk or something. Get the hell out of here.
What do you do? What do you do? Like when you do have a little bit of time, like what do you do to keep your mind right outside of football?
No, I hang with my kids. Right? Listen, and I think I do my wife might disagree. I think I do a fairly decent job of separating it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, listen, a couple of bad losses. I'm sure I bring that home. But as my kids are getting older, my daughter's 5, my son's 3, like they're going to see that more for sure. Just spending time
with the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you get a little gym. You look a little.
That's the off season, not in season. Definitely not in season.
You came in looking a little swole, dude. No, it's amazing, dude. Like, what are you most looking forward to? I mean, I guess it's the same thing every season, but like, what are you most looking forward to this season? Now you're in your fourth season, right?
Season at Highlands.
4 seasons. Like, what is it now? Are you finally in like a comfortable place? I mean, I don't know if you have felt that you're in a comfortable place.
Yeah, listen, I felt pretty comfortable there early on, and again, that's a credit to like the administration, the community. Listen, we have a great football community.
You
right?
do.
Like,
the games are electric.
Yeah,
dude.
and listen, it takes a lot of people to do this right. Takes a good administration, takes a good group behind you. We got a ton of dads that volunteer and come. And obviously I've talked a lot about my staff, right? Like, so I felt pretty comfortable early on, but one of my coaches was talking about this the other day, right? Like this is the first group that's been with us for all 4 years, right? So this off season, I do feel has been smoother, right? Like it's the same drills that we've been working on. Yeah, they tweak but like it's the same system.
Yeah,
it's the same language, right? The one thing about football, right, which is interesting, is there's no universal language, right? Like
that's so true.
We joke, right? Like there's one universal word in all football, and that's smash. Smash means hitch corner, right? Everything else, like what I call dagger, you call Hank, and like it's just like it's all different words. So it's like learning a different language. And like now these kids have spent 4 years in this language, 4 years with what we're trying to accomplish, and it's been really smooth. I love the mental makeup of our team right now. And I've loved it since about February. I've seen a difference in the weight room. So it's just exciting. You don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
I certainly last year.
It's so wild, the seasons, how unpredictable they are. Like everybody goes in with, expectations and they're hopeful. And who you got week 1?
We are opening at the Battle at the Beach, which is down in Ocean City. Really cool venue against Holy Spirit. Wow. So Holy Spirit's parochial from South Jersey.
Okay. Good program.
Yeah, the good program. They lost in the playoffs to DePaul last year. But really good. Really good.
When is the game?
The game is August 28th, so Thursday.
Okay.
Yep.
Down the shore.
Yep.
I have to go down there. Hit DJs afterwards.
No, this is Ocean City. You're way south.
Way south.
You're South Atlantic City.
On the way back up.
Yeah.
On the way back, I'm not going to DJs, bro. I'm just joking. Worm tries to tell me all the time, you got to come to D. I'm like, bro, I'm not going to fucking DJs, dude.
It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
It's been a while, man.
Long time. I don't need it in my life. But oh man, is this? We're at about an hour before the camera turns off. I appreciate you, man, coming on. What is the last anything that you want to say before we go? I mean, what is it? What do you? I said what you're looking forward to, but like, what do you want to leave people with? If you can give a piece of advice to any up and coming coach, let's go there. If you can give a piece of advice to any up and coming coach, what do you think the most important thing? What advice would you give?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's any different than most of the rest of life, right? Like, you got to be humble and you got to go into it that you don't know everything, because I certainly still don't know everything. I think there's a lot of you got to continue to learn and continue to adapt as you go, right? And try to get with smart people, right? You're a young coach, and I've talked to other guys. Get in with a good program with guys that do it the right way and guys that have been doing it for way longer than you, right? Like, and that's I think for me, reflecting on on the early part of my career here, right? I signed on at Ridgewood. The guy was a 35-year head coach without a losing season, right? I learned from Mark Arenbrew, who was a head coach for 20 years, had been coaching for 35, 40 years at the time. Angelo DeSalvo, I bring on, another 20-year head coach, right? Pete Toll comes over, one of our best friends, right? A 7-year head coach. I had 3 coaches on my staff that had been head coaching longer than I've been coaching.
Yeah.
But like, it's you need to surround yourself with people, and I know that's easier said than done.
Sure.
Right.
But use your gut.
Yeah. But if that means that you're not taking that first head coaching job, and you got to wait and learn, right? Like I much rather take the right one, right, than the first one.
Yeah.
And I think that goes a long way. And I said it before, right? Like, football's hard. You got to be in a program that people, you got to surround yourself with the right people. So the right community, the right administration, the right coaching staff, and you got to have great kids.
Yeah.
Right? And I've been lucky to have great kids.
It's been a hell of a journey, dude. It's pretty wild to see Kearny, Ridgewood here, watching you come up like as your friend, bro. Like I said, I'm proud.
Yep.
It's really dope watching you because you're good at what you do. Like, again, I've always known you as a good person, and I know who you are as an individual, right? But like watching you and what you've done and how you've helped enhance programs, more importantly, help enhance kids, bring a new energy, young energy. Like, I think it's amazing what you're doing. I really, really do. I'm proud of you, bro. Like, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. It's really cool to see you win. It's really cool to see you make an impact. It's really cool to see you go into like already established places and be able to keep that energy, let alone, bring your own flavor and stuff like that. So you've done amazing things, man. I'm like wildly proud of you. I'm like very excited for the season, doing this, this podcast thing and getting some of the coaches on. Like, me and you as friends, like, we talk a lot. I don't ever talk to you rarely do I talk to you about football. Yep. You know what I mean? So to hear you speak on some of it is very, very cool. Again, bro, I'm always rooting for you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
I'm
it.
always rooting for you, dude. Coach Dave Cord, I will definitely be seeing you on the golf course over the next couple of weeks.
Listen,
I'm
you
sure
got to get your game up. I can't be beating you. That looks terrible for you.
I'm terrible this season,
Yeah,
and I'll leave it at that. I got to figure it out.
You don't look great this season.
Bro, it's bad. I shot a 50 my last 9.
Oh, jeez.
It's not good, dude.
Yeah.
But I love you, dude.
All right, buddy.
Appreciate you. Northern Highlands, August 28th against
Holy Spirit.
Holy Spirit. Robbie Maxx podcast.
It's good.
No more time wasted. It's a celebration, elevation. No more contemplation, no hesitation. This my destination.